Okay, sorry about that, the battery died. So I left off where I took this this pipe wrench and I had to get this nut loose. So once you get the nut loose, that's going to pop right off. This part here is going to slide up and out. Okay, you're going to put them in order that you take them off, just so you don't forget. There's not a lot of components here, but sometimes you can get confused. You know, especially if you have to wait a few days for the parts to come in. So I just kind of put them aside in the order that they came off. Down in here, there's this sleeve here. That's going to slide off, and just put that over the cup here. And then this whole thing is just going to pop right off. Now, if you look inside here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's I don't know if you can see it or not. Right underneath my finger, there's a seal that runs around here. And I guess what happens after sitting for a while, or maybe being in a barn full of salt, that seal got all grooved or something on the inside. I don't know, but it was leaking real bad. And you can see this thing is not in the best condition at all, but once I put this new seal inside here, it fit in that groove. The groove goes back underneath this part just a little bit more. So I'm pretty happy with the way that's in there. I don't think that's going to move. It's been like that for a long time, and I know it looks like this, you know, this part is chewed out pretty good, and something might be able to leak by it, but that part does go up inside there just a little bit more. So I have full coverage all the way around. So the best way to take out that little seal down in there, you know, they make a special tool for it, I guess, but what I did was, real carefully, I just took an awl or, you know, a punch or something sharp, and I was able to pierce it into the inside of this seal. You know, just, you know, push it in here real good, and then just kind of pried it away, and it came away from the inside, and I was able to get a small screwdriver in between it, and then just kind of work it out, and it popped out pretty easy. Like I said, I think they make a tool for it. I'm not sure, somebody was talking about it before, but anyways, if you'll notice, there's a little lip on the end of the seal. That lip you want to face the fluid side, so the pressure side of the ram. So this part here goes on this direction, and the fluid is here. So this part, this little groove is going to be facing up. That's going to be facing the rest of the fluid that's up here. Okay, so make sure you put it in that way, because if you don't, you're going to ruin it when you take it out by poking a hole in it or whatever. And they are kind of a pain to get in. You know, you got your O-ring here, it's nice and squishy, and then you got this part in here, and it's rubber, but it's kind of you know, heavy duty. So what I did was I took a pair of needle nose pliers that didn't have any teeth on them, so they were smooth, and I was able to squeeze this down flat, and then I was able to fold the two ends over on each other, so it kind of looked like a figure, almost like an 8 that was folded over on itself. That way I was able to push the whole thing down inside and release it, and then with just my hands and a little, you know, plastic end from a screwdriver, I was able to kind of manipulate it into the groove, and it fit in there pretty easily. This one in here I was able to just put in by hand. You could just kind of work it around in there, and it just kind of pops in. So this O-ring here, self-explanatory. You just work it over the top, it just pops right in there. And now what we have is, if I can find it, the part that I just went and got, and I can't find it. Bear with me. Okay, I found it. It's in my pocket of the jacket I took off a while ago, so that was kind of a pain to find. But anyways, this is the part that it was on kind of back order for me. I had to go pick it up today. So what this is here, I haven't even taken it out yet, but what it is it's like a thin plastic washer. And from what I was told from the guy at the bearing place, and I might be completely wrong, I might have misunderstood him, but basically what he says is it gives the O-ring a little more force. Like if you put this behind the O-ring, it actually makes the O-ring work that much better. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but it holds back a little bit more fluid than just the O-ring on its own. It holds back a little more pressure, I should say. With just the O-ring, I think the pressure could release, but with this part in there, it strengthens the O-ring and makes it, oh, there goes the heat again. It makes it hold back a little more pressure. So anyways, I'm gonna slide this on. I need 2 hands. This washer here is gonna go between the outside and the O-ring. Not on the inside, it goes on the outside. So I'm gonna put this in right now and then come back on in a second. And there it is. So if you can see, I have that little washer is right here, and then the O-ring is here. That's the fluid side, so you're gonna want the O-ring facing the fluid. So now we're just gonna start to reassemble this. Like I already said, I cheated and I already had this together one time. I took it apart just for the purposes of showing you, but when you put this on for the first time, that inside seal is real tight. That lip on it doesn't want to go over this. So what I did, I wasn't able to get this on, and I might not even be able to right now. So what I did was, I put this part back on the way that it goes, the direction it came off, and then I put this part on, and I was able to expose a few threads. I took the nut comes off, there's a flat side, and there's kind of a rounded side, and from the teeth marks that I know that I came off this direction. Like I said, I'm not absolutely positive that it has to go back on this direction, but I'm just gonna put it back on exactly the way that I took it off. So if you'll bear with me, I'm gonna need 2 hands. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just tighten this down a little bit. It's gonna push on this, which is gonna turn push on this, which is gonna get it over the top of this shaft, get it past this little seal here, because this lip gets hung up on here when you first try to get it on. So if it's cold, you're gonna need this to put it on. So just to hang on and I'll get that started. I'm a dumbass. I actually had this thing flipped over on here. So you just wanna orient it right. So you're gonna wanna have this, the outside of it is obviously facing here. So I just had it spun over real quick and I noticed it as soon as I turned off the camera. So I just popped everything off, turned it around, and since I already had it on, I already had that seal kind of crushed down a little bit, so it was able to slide on pretty easy. So now what we're gonna do is put everything else back on. First one on is this thing, and the taper aims down, okay? And then what goes on is this. Now I've been having a little bit of an issue with this thing. The inside here is just a little bit galled, and I think it because these threads were a little bit rough. I'm not sure why. When I took the nut off, there was a little bit of, I don't know, these just feel a little bit weird to me. The nut will go on and it will tighten, but for some reason, these threads are a little bit sloppy. Now this thing is aluminum and this thing is steel, so I'm not afraid of messing the threads up. And I'm not absolutely positive if this thing isn't absolutely perfectly smooth what it's gonna do, but I'm just gonna put it back on the way I took it off, so just stand by. Okay, so I got it back together. This nut on top here, once you really tighten this thing down, this part doesn't move at all. So I don't think that any of the, the little tiny scratches on the inside of that bore is gonna matter because it's just tightened right down on the shaft. This tapered little guy here that fits down in here and spins freely. I know it's not supposed to spin, or doesn't matter if it spins or not. It's just actually, I don't even know what this is actually. I have no idea. But anyways, that goes on there. And then this guy here, I'm just gonna slide it up till it makes contact. So now I have it all together. So now I'm gonna reassemble. I'm gonna put it back inside the tube here. And I don't know if I should fill this up with hydraulic fluid once I put that in. I can put that in here and take this line or this line, whichever one it is, and put a tube on it into the hydraulic bucket, and I can actually push this in or draw it out, whichever, and it will actually fill that tube up with hydraulic fluid. So I'm not positive if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to wait till it's on the machine and bleed it that way. So I'm going to need 2 hands for this. I'm going to put the tube back on here, and we're going to reinstall it. All right, so the heat popped back on again, so it's a little loud, but anyways, I was able to slide this back in. I forgot to mention before, but you definitely want to lube this up with some hydraulic fluid, or I heard you could also do it with diesel. I don't know about any motor oil or anything like that, but I just used the hydraulic fluid that came out of here as a lubricant, just to make sure the O-rings are nice and lubed up to get inside here, because you don't want anything getting scratched up, or everything that you did is going to be for nothing. So anyways, screw this on by hand, and since I don't have the right tool that fits in these holes, and frankly I don't know if they'll work anyways because these holes are so old out. So what I did was I took this giant pair of channel locks here, and I was able to get it, let's see if I can do this one hand, I was able to get it on here, just on the aluminum part, obviously, and was able to get this really tight. So I don't think that's coming off anywhere. When I had this apart, I took this tube off because it had kind of a big bend in here. So I was able to put this on the bench and kind of straighten this out, so these are on there a little bit better. I don't have any white paint, so I'm not going to be able to paint this right now. But I also want to show you, I talked a little bit about it before, this top pin here, okay? This pin goes in here, and you can see that this is ovaled out pretty good. This part doesn't slide in. I know it looks like a bushing that you could just pound out and slide another one in, but this one doesn't. So I'm either going to have to have this welded up in here and then re-drill this out to fit, or I'm just going to use it the way it is. But the reason why this is so ovaled is because this wasn't lubed very well. And what happens is there's a hole down the center of this tube. And when you apply grease here, it goes down those tubes and then squishes out these two holes on the side here, one on each side. These holes get completely packed full of old grease and rust to the point where you're going to put a gun on here and it's just not going to accept any grease. So what I did was I took the smallest drill bit that I have. I know this hole looks a lot bigger, but inside there is just a kind of a little tiny hole, and it goes all the way through. So I took a drill bit by hand and I just drilled it like this until I was able to get it through here. Oh, there it goes. And then kept going until it came out the other side. So I was able to clean that out. I then took this fitting off and took a bigger drill and just kind of marked it with my finger to see how long it had to be to reach the bottom here. And the same thing, I pushed it in and pulled the old grease out and just kind of screwed it in with my finger and pulled it out. I guess you could do it with a drill, but I just didn't have one in my hand, so I just did it by hand. And I was able to get it cleaned out. The fitting, I just turned it over and just kind of dug all the old grease out of it, put it back in here, and hit it with my grease gun, and I got grease to pop out both these side holes. So I know I'm good with this. So I'm ready to reinstall this one. Now, on the front here, you'll see, oh no, I guess it is the back. The back, it doesn't appear to have any grease fittings, okay? So I think I guess you just lube them up and just, oh no, I know where it is. I'm sorry, my bad. It's right here. It's right here. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pop this thing off and I'm gonna clean out this thing to make sure that we're clean, and then I'm gonna reinstall it and then we'll have grease here. And I'm just noticing now that it looks like there was another grease fitting here. So I'm gonna get a bolt and just cover up that hole, because this grease fitting looks like it was installed after the fact. So anyways, I'm gonna reinstall this thing, pop this grease fitting out, clean it, reinstall it, and then put it all back together. So stand by.